Hello, welcome to the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Miguel Illescas, and we are going to analyze game number 2 of this World Championship final, which is taking place in Dubai. You know, today Magnus Carlsen was playing with the white pieces, and the Russian challenger, young Nepomniachtchi, defending the black side. It was a Catalan. I was a bit surprised. I was expecting 1e4, but Magnus had in mind to go for this old opening where white tries to establish the bishop on the long diagonal. You know the story of this line. The Grandmaster Savieli Tartakover was playing a tournament in a small village near Barcelona, Sitges. I think it was 1934 or something like that. And the organizers asked him to invent a new opening, something which will remain for future years. And this is how it was born. The idea to develop the bishop on g2. Of course, all the time the bishop was going to c4, d3 in the old Queen's Gambit lines. Okay, so after g3, black has many options, but Nepo was well prepared. He played very fast, bishop e7, castle, castle. And in this moment, black has a white choice if he wants to keep the game closed with the moves knight bd7, c6, b6, the bishop goes b7 or a6. But in this game, Nepo played d takes c4. This is the main line of the Catalan. It goes to a semi-open game. White is going to try to get the pawn back with the move queen c2, which was played in the game. And usually, in this position, black usually plays, gives the pawn, plays a6, queen c4, b5, and bishop b7. Well, this is the main line. It has been played many times. On the modern games, we can find that after a6, white is trying to play a4, and this probably would be Magnus' idea, just to keep control on the queen side. And the black plays bishop d7, bishop c6. It has an easy development. The knight can go to d7 or a5, knight a6, jump into b4, the square which became weak, but white stays with 2 pawns on the center, and usually it gets a very small slight advantage, which is very much for on the Magnus style. So that's why Nepo went for a sharper line here, and he played like an amateur. Because okay, if they are attacking my pawn, why shouldn't I protect it? And he played b5. It's a very good question why this move was neglected for many years. For many years, it was thought that b5 was a mistake because a4, and now black has to play b4, its only move. Let's have a look. If we try to keep the chain alive with something like a6, it's a big mistake, because after take, the pawn is in a pin. If we take, we lose a rook. So after a4, if we want to keep the chain, we need to play c6. But now white is winning. Can you find out how? Well, the trick which we have to know is knight g5. This is the trick. Now the bishop is attacking the rook. The only move to protect it is knight d5, but then with the knight on g5, we have a powerful continuation, queen h7 mate. Yes, that's why after a4, black has to play b4, and then okay, white can take any moment. Then for many years it was thought that okay, white to allow, now the c pawn will be weak. In fact, white has several moves here. He can take immediately, and then okay, after bishop a6, modern theory made us understand that black is perfectly okay here. But white has a lot of possibilities. One of them, knight bd2, and taking with the knight. Another one, more sophisticated, knight fd2, also taking with the knight here and creating a strong threat over the rook. And that's why for many years this was considered to be bad for black. But truth is that with computer analysis, black was able to solve problems in all lines. And nowadays, after a4 b4, the position is considered to be okay for black. After move 7, here in this moment, it came an incredible novelty by Magnus Carlsen. In my opinion, incredible novelty. We saw hundreds of games with a4. He went knight e5 immediately, which looks like a Patzer move. I will tell you why. First of all, one of the things which we have to, it's very interesting to understand what happened in the game after knight e5. We should first analyze the line where white plays a4, b4, and knight e5, because this is well known. And in this line, black can sacrifice the exchange after queen d4, and he gets a fantastic counterplay. In this position, black is getting 2 pawns and some problems for white to develop, especially the knight. And these 2 pawns are very strong. White is not in time to take, because then his bishop is going to be trapped. And then, well, if white is not taking, he has to get the bishop to a safe place. But then black is in time to defend. And we can see here that that black got 2 very strong pawns and very interesting attacking possibilities on the queen side. A very easy development after knight d5. The other knight will go to c6. And in general, this is slightly better for black already. And that's why after queen takes d4, it's considered to be good for black. But then, okay, what is the difference with the game? I mean, in the game, Magnus played knight e5, and here Nepo was thinking for a while, almost 10 minutes, 9 minutes, and of course he was checking what's going on if queen takes d4. I mean, and the main difference is that now white has the c3 square available, and this is very important. Look at this. White can play, for example, queen c3, a very strange move, but black is forced to take, and after knight c3 the compensation for the pawn is very obvious. In fact, white will regain the pawn, and maybe the position is kind of equal, but you need to be very worried if Magnus is playing with preparation, and you have to find the moves on the game. That's why this was extremely risky. And also, in this line, it's also possible to take the rook. It's not so bad, because after bishop f3, white has very important square c3 to develop very fast his knight. And okay, his exchange up, and well, I'm not so sure that this is so good for black. Maybe it's equal, but difficult to play, and especially if your opponent is well prepared. There are more lines, but it would be maybe too much. So let's go back to the game. After knight e5, Nepo understood it was too risky to take on d4, and he went for a second move. Another option was knight d5, but he went for c6. It makes a lot of sense. If white decides to take, bishop takes, okay, white gets the pawn back, but black gets an excellent game. He's a bit ahead in development. Very soon the bishop will come to b7, d4 is hanging, and in general I think black is slightly better here already with this very strong pawn on c4. That's why Magnus was thinking for a while. I'm curious to understand, because he was thinking 4 minutes this move and another 4 minutes a4. You know, to know my opinion, I think he was pretending to think. I think this was a preparation. It's very hard for me to believe that, okay, he's playing a move like knight e5, a complete novelty, over the board. This was preparation, and this 4 minutes thinking was maybe some kind of theater. We don't know. This is the nice things on a World Championship. There are so many psychological moves that you never know what's going on. Here black has an only move. Yeah, can you find it? Yeah, the only move that keeps the game alive. Yes, all the queen side is under pressure, and the only move to protect is knight d5. White continued with knight c3, and now here Magnus was playing very fast. So this is kind of showing to me f6. This was also a very natural move, and he played knight f3 immediately. So I believe he knew this position. In fact, it was only after the next move, queen d7, when Magnus started to think for a while. Black is protecting his pawn, he's preparing the development of his bishop to b7, and now if white takes, black can take, and the pawn is protected. This was an important moment, but Magnus was thinking for something like 6-7 minutes only, and he went e4. It's a very committal move. White gets the center, but he allows black to establish a very strong knight on d3. This is typical in the Catalan in some lines. So we should not be too scared of this knight. But of course, it's an achievement for black as well. The position, in my opinion, it's kind of equal in dynamic balance. And the next move was very natural. e5, opening the long diagonal for the white bishop, and again creating some threats with a takes b5. That's why black was kind of forced to react with bishop b7. It was possible f5, but then, okay, a b5 and black is in some trouble. That's why bishop b7 is natural, and white used the opportunity to open the center, getting some possibilities to jump with the knights. In fact, this is what he did in his next moves, knight e4. At this moment, Magnus was thinking a lot. I mean, he was thinking for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 14 minutes this move, more than half an hour on the last three moves. It's clear that he was completely out of book. The position was very sharp. He's a pawn down, but he has some good compensation because black has big problems to develop, to do something with his bishop. In this position, black played very natural, knight a6, developing the last piece. And here I was expecting white to get the pair of bishops with the move knight f6. And this was also interesting to see what would black do. Because if he takes with the rook, then knight e5 looks strong. When black takes, pawn takes, and then suddenly white will enter with the rooks. On the d file, it has an easy move, bishop e3. It looks like white is better, in my opinion. It has a huge compensation for the pawn. But of course, the point is that black can take with the pawn, and this is extremely difficult to assess. Who is better and why? Bishop h6, rook f7. Well, I don't know. I mean, if I would know, I would be playing here. This is difficult. Maybe white is slightly better, two bishops, some attack. Black is a pawn up. Difficult to say, but Magnus played another move which is very, very interesting and very natural, knight e5. He wants to provoke black to take. Black is kind of forced to take. And he, of course, takes with the bishop just to keep his strong knight on d3. After bishop e5, d takes e5. Here, somebody was asking me, okay, why not to get the bishop away? Come on, this knight is so important. You could never make such a move. Knight c1. It's very bad move. Rook a c1, and later white is going to dominate the d line. This is going to be catastrophic for black. So after d takes e5, Nepo played the more natural move, knight c5. Here, white was thinking for a while. Magnus was thinking for more than 10 minutes because the position becomes critical. What to do now? He wanted to jump to d6, but then black has knight b3. And he was calculating all the possibilities. By the way, I have to say that in this moment, it would be also a bad mistake, knight takes e5, which looks natural to kill this very important white pawn, but knight g5 is very strong. We attack the knight, and after knight d3, we have the move queen e4, double attack, h7, and taking on b5. Black is lost here. If pawn takes, he's losing a piece. And that's why after d takes e5, knight c5, and here white played knight d6. This made the game very, very exciting. White is sacrificing something else. I mean, already he gave a pawn, and now he's giving a second pawn, for example. But Nepo decided to take an exchange, because after knight b3, he's attacking two pieces, the rook and the bishop, and white cannot avoid to lose an exchange. This was, of course, Magnus' idea. He went rook b1, and after all this take, black is left with a very stupid bishop, but of course his exchange up and the pawn up. So most of the engines were giving already a big advantage for black, minus 1.2, and some commentators and some spectators, they were saying, oh, Nepo is winning. Come on, let's have a look at the position. What is this? We should not trust so much computers, especially from a human point of view. This position is incredibly difficult to play with black. Black has a huge problem with the bishop. The knight is a monster. The rooks have no activity at the moment. And, well, nobody knows what will happen, but you need to play very well with black here to survive. In fact, the next two moves by Nepo were extremely important. He played very well and quite fast. In fact, the move rook a b8. It's a very clever move. Of course, he's offering white to get back the material, which Magnus didn't, because after a b5, he's getting the exchange back, but he's left with a pawn down in a very bad position. Black pieces are excellent. And that's why Magnus, he improved his rook, and now he's creating some ideas with discovered attack from the rook to the queen. What to do with black? What would you play here if you would be black? Another difficult move which took something like 9 minutes for Nepo. Yes, his idea after rook b8 was bishop a8, and he wants to play c5 one day. Sooner or later he will play c5 and he will trade bishops. This is the main idea for black. He doesn't care maybe to lose one more pawn if he can open the game for his rooks. The position becomes very, very exciting and difficult to play. Magnus was maybe considering for a while knight takes b5, but the truth is that then the rook becomes very happy. It gets active immediately after knight b5, maybe queen b7. The position is very dangerous for white. If the lines get open, the rooks can be too strong. Magnus wanted to keep some control and he went bishop e4. And this is also a very clever move and very dangerous. Look at this. If black plays the most natural queen e7, then white has a very strong answer. Queen h5, threatening mate. And if now h6, queen g6 is already winning. White is going to mate the black king. So black should probably play g6, but then after bishop g6, the position is again very dangerous for black because the rook may enter from the fourth rank, and this is going to bring white a decisive attack. Of course, these lines are not completely forced. Computer tells you that g5 is playable, but come on, no human would go for g5. I mean, for queen e7, if you have to play g5, this is something like what you do when you are in a real emergency, not in a plan. That's why Nepo was trying to find something else. He was thinking for a while here, 11 minutes, and he found a very interesting idea, c3. What is the point? One of the ideas of this move is to open the game. When white plays after b takes c3, he can take on a4, and then somehow the rook is already playing. And secondly, I have the feeling that he was a bit worried after ba4 for a very strange move, not knight c4, but maybe bishop h7. It's a very strange move, but very dangerous. Look at this. And white wants to mate. I was checking for a while this, and this is not clear at all. I mean, difficult to say who is winning and why. And maybe after rook b2, white is winning, because rook h4, check, check. And I don't see how to escape from this deadly checkmate. Well, of course, there are many lines, and but the truth is that black had to be very careful. He went c3, and here I was expecting b takes c3 and this line, which was very natural, and after ba4, something like queen c2, attacking on h7, and queen a4. In fact, this is what happened in the game, but through another move order, which was, in my opinion, a serious mistake by Magnus Carlsen. Okay, sorry, because he's so strong, you know, and it's so risky to say he made a mistake, but it looks like queen c2, which is the move he played, it's probably maybe a wrong move order, because after g6, b takes c3, Nepo had here a fantastic opportunity. Move 26, and I have the feeling that he blundered with ba4, coming to that position which is more or less equal, but suddenly white is pressing a lot. He could play instead a very strong move here, which I invite you to find. You have to think in a long-term strategical way. What is the best move for black? According to my understanding, it was queen g7. Why? Because we attack the pawn. It's a very important pawn. White has to play f4, and then suddenly the white king is going to be in danger for the rest of the game. There are so many strong pieces on the board yet, and white may be under attack at any moment. In fact, black can get the game crazy with move g5, and trying to break, open the game for the rooks. And well, I don't know what would happen here, but this is very much in Nepo's style, very dynamic chess. Magnus could be in big danger here. Let's show a variation. Of course, there are many moves. This is maybe not the best for both, but here, which looks very strong because white is entering with the rook, but black has the miracle move queen g6, and suddenly maybe black is better. In some positions, we are going to see very soon the power of the rooks, and of course black has some ideas which can be extremely dangerous. Okay, don't take it too serious. I mean, of course, after f4, it's also possible to play a5, and we can see here that the game gets open and the white king is a bit unsafe. And that's why queen g7, in my opinion, was quite interesting. But instead, ba4 came to a position where black wanted to play c5. White got some pressure here, c5. Now it was a very bad mistake to take on a7. Be careful, because there are some tricks. We have to pay always attention to the tactical motives. And after c5, Magnus played queen c4. He's now keeping the game under control. Look at this. Finally, black managed to trade bishops. This was a very long dream. And but after king h8, now you have to take a decision. You have two nice squares, but you can go only to one of them. Magnus played knight d6. It's very natural, keeping the position under control. If queen takes c5 to jump to f6, the point is that black also gets good play, trading rooks, coming back. And okay, the knight is very strong. Maybe white can hold the draw here, but he's not better. So that's why Magnus went for knight d6, which is stronger in my opinion. And black understood immediately that he has to try to eliminate this knight. He went rook b6 with a clear idea to take on d6. But he cannot do it yet, because after queen c5, which was played in the game, if black takes, he's simply getting a pawn down in a probably lost position. That's why he first played rook b8, trying to trade rooks. The king went to g2 to prevent rook b1 check, which would be quite okay for black. And Nepo found a very clever, very good move, a6. Now he wants to play queen c6, going for an endgame. He could not do it immediately because this is extremely dangerous. I mean, after rook a7, the king is in, I mean, white has a very strong initiative here. This is extremely dangerous. And that's why Nepo went a6, which is a good move. And after king h3, rook c6, some moves before the time control, they were already under little time pressure. King g8, improving the position of the king, c4, queen c7. And at this point, this was decisive moment for the fate of the game. Magnus had some 5 minutes on the clock, maybe. He still had to play 4 moves. And he went for a pragmatical variation, queen g4. And he knew that his opponent would take on d6. This happened in the game, and we reach equal position. Mainly, okay, white is symbolic better, but it's going to be a draw. We will see later. What could he do, in fact, after queen c7? Did white had some clear path for to get an advantage? Not clear to me. In my opinion, it's pretty equal. I mean, king g2 would be a natural move, trying to make the attack with the h-pawn, but black has some counterplay. He can play queen b6, trying to trade queens, and if queen g4, then still trade the exchange. Also, rook f8 is a very natural move, keeping under control the queen side. If h4, queen b6, pressure on f2. I don't believe that white really missed a big advantage playing queen g4. The truth is that after rook d6, well, the rest of the game it's maybe not so exciting. Magnus played c5, and at this moment, of course, it was possible to play queen c6, keeping 4 pawns each, but Nepo decided that it was time to make a draw, and he went for a forced line, provoking some exchange of pieces that will finally end in a rook endgame, which is dead draw. I mean, queen f5, also f2 is hanging, white played f4, and after queen f5 we go for an endgame, which is very drawish, very well known, 3 versus 2, it's an easy draw. We can see that Magnus tried to make some pressure. Typically when you're a pawn up, you want to play for a while, but really Nepo was never in danger. And after a few moves, we are showing here the repeated moves, and the draw was agreed on move 58. Well, all in all, a very interesting game, fantastic battle, chances for both sides. In my opinion, Nepo missed the best chance with queen g7. Still, the game was very unclear. Three results were possible. Finally, we had another draw. But it's clear that Magnus is pressing on the openings. Already 2 games, he's taking the initiative with very powerful novelties in a very, very early stage of the game. Move 8 today, knight e5, amazing. And also credit to Nepo, who is solving on the board problems and showing that he's in very good shape. So he's going to be a very dangerous opponent. So, well, this was the analysis of game 2. Tomorrow is Sunday. We have game 3. Nepo will be with the white pieces, and I will be here with you at the end of the game to tell you move by move everything what is happening in Dubai. See you on game 3. Bye bye.